All right, let's get started with roll call. Commissioner Bryan.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Palzer.
Here.
And Ben, how do you say your last name?
Gill, like Gill.
Okay, Commissioner Gill.
Present.
Okay, and then obviously Kayla Doser. And then Commissioner Redmond is coming shortly. Okay, so we can move on to the approval of the agenda from last month. Does anybody have any additions they'd like to add or comments? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, motion passes.
Madam
Oh,
Chair, was that, that you're approving the agenda there?
yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry. Could I get, I apologize. I'm taking the notes, the minutes, and I was a little thrown off when you said agenda from last month.
Oh,
I thought you
sorry.
talked about minutes. So then I didn't listen closely at who did the motion and second. So if you could repeat that, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, sorry, I got my minutes and my agenda mixed up. Approving the agenda for today's meeting. And who motion to approve, was it Commissioner Bryan? Yep.
Yeah.
And then Commissioner Gill second.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 4, approval of the minutes from last meeting, January 25th. Any additions to add there or any comments? Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve last month's meeting minutes as submitted.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. Okay. Moving on to the next agenda item, unfinished business. We have a 2022 work plan and environmental priorities implementation strategies.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the commission. So I'll share my screen here with you. And I'm showing you just a short presentation kind of summarizing the staff report here. And you're looking at the 2022 work plan. So the Environmental and Natural Resources Commission reviewed the work plan and looked at environmental priorities during the January meeting. And during that meeting, we had indicated that there's 2 items that the commission definitely, well, one for sure that we definitely need to review, and that's the trash and recycling 2022 annual review. So for the new commissioners, this is something that's written into the contract with both Republic Services for our trash hauling and Tennis Sanitation for our recycling. It's an annual review. They submit their reports kind of summarizing the year previously, the weights collected, things of that nature, participation numbers, household counts. And then we also look at a work plan for each of those haulers to identify areas that we can improve on our services for trash and recycling. So we'll look at that annual review in March. That'll be our March meeting. And then that will go on to the City Council in April. And then the other thing that we did identify was our wetland ordinance, which we've updated, maybe 10, 12 years ago, and then some minor updates since then. And then this would be minor updates also, but has to do with some language in the ordinance about our public infrastructure exemptions. Something we identified last year when we were working on the Fish Creek bridge overpass on Sterling Road. And then also something that we haven't done in a while is update our wetland ordinance, or excuse me, our wetland maps. So the maps, the city of Maplewood adopted Ramsey Washington Metro Watershed District's maps, and those were modified back in 2009 based on this Minnesota routine assessment method, where they identified the management classification for each of those wetlands. And then since that time, there's been some updates with developments, and some wetlands have been deemed incidental. Or we've had additional wetland delineations complete, so we know the boundaries better. So since we adopted the 2009 map, we should really update it yearly, and we haven't been doing that. So we can update those changes at that time. So we'll look at that possibly beginning in April, pending other priorities. So that's the work plan on things that we have to accomplish. And I'll just pause there to see if there's any questions or comments on that. So then every year we want to take a look at items that we find are important to bring to the city council's attention. So environmental priorities. And this year, the Environmental and Natural Resources Commission has identified our climate action planning, because of course we completed the climate adaptation plan last year, and we're beginning to implement that. And then hopefully we'll receive that grant from the MPCA for the climate mitigation planning, which is our next step in climate planning. So we've called it the 2022 year of climate action planning. And so that's one of the priorities. And then I'll identify maybe some strategies that we can implement next. But moving on, you've also identified the Nature Center Task Force recommendations. And of course, this was a result of the Nature Center being shuttered and our naturalists being laid off during the pandemic beginning stages and budget issues there. And then the task force came up with some recommendations on how to bring back, number one, opening the Nature Center, and number two, the possibility of bringing back some programming. So we'll take a look at some implementation strategies there for that. And then finally, community garden and urban agriculture, something that's identified in our comprehensive plan, and some other policies that we've been working on over the years. So how can we implement these over the next few months? So for the climate action planning, in the climate adaptation plan, it does call out the financial mechanisms. And I think we began this a couple of years ago. However, we didn't really have the backing that we do now with the adoption of the climate adaptation plan by our council, so the full backing of them. And one of the strategies identified there was to look at ways that the city could fund additional climate strategies, like adding additional solar panels to our city facilities, making energy efficiency improvements, things that will continue our sustainability initiatives. And ideas that are identified in that climate adaptation plan include tiered stormwater fees, resilience penny property tax, capturing energy savings from existing renewable energy projects, or utility franchise fees. So what that would really involve is a study to be complete by the Environmental Commission with the assistance of our finance director and finance department, looking at ways that we can implement some or make a recommendation for this type of financing. So that is something that I think we can identify this year as the commission taking on. And then, of course, climate action engagement programs that we hope to continue throughout the year. First and foremost being this Clean Energy for All program that was funded by the Metro Clean Energy Resource Team's seed grant fund that the city of Maplewood received. So we'll be working with 3 manufactured home parks in Maplewood. That's about 800 homes, doing some energy efficiency and identifying possibility for solar in those parks as well. But that will be a big outreach project that we'll take on in the summer. And we hope that the Environmental Commission can help us out with that. There'll be additional information on that later. The Arbor Day event, we just identified a date for that. It will be May 14th and will be held at the Nature Center. And we'll have some different stations working also with the Friends of Maplewood Nature group on their tree truck program, rolling that out. But we hope to have a station that does some identification with climate resilient trees. So we think that would be of interest and hope that you could help us out with that. And then another opportunity, of course, is Waterfest. It's our opportunity to have that big audience that shows up. They are holding again a 1-day event, and it will be June 4th this year. Last year they had, 9 days, kind of an interactive type of thing. You walk by, and the Environmental Commission did have a booth, of course, but it wasn't a manned booth. But we'll have an opportunity to be out there and hope to do some climate engagement at that event. And then finally, something that we should be doing yearly now is reviewing the climate adaptation plan implementation progress. And that's something that's identified in that adaptation plan that the Environmental Commission would basically be the steering committee or review of that plan. So we'll look at that annually during our annual review. So that's strategies on climate action planning. And maybe I'll pause to see if there's any comments or feedback on that. So for the Nature Center Task Force recommendations, in your staff report, I did identify items in the recommendations that the city has carried out. And number one, it has to do with opening the Nature Center, which is a huge accomplishment. You know, we did reorganize the Park and Recreation Department to now the Park and Natural Resources Department. And we have 4 staff that are now housed out of the Nature Center. So we have that building open to the public from 9 until 3 p.m. Monday through Friday right now. We've had ongoing maintenance of the trails and grounds. So you can come out and hike the trails anytime from sunup to sundown. We support independent groups using the outdoor areas. So right now we're partnering with the Friends of Maplewood Nature for a fun event out there. It's called the Gnome Challenge, and I'll go over that during our staff presentations. But so allowing other organizations to utilize the facility for their events and helping them advertise those events. Let's see. Identifying rental opportunities to encourage use. So of course we had all of the snowshoes out there that the Nature Center used to rent out and use for their fur trade programming. And we now are offering that as a rental opportunity, again, only during those open hours, but we're also having some pop-up snowshoe events. Couple of those throughout the winter, where we just go to a park and let people use those for free. connection to community education. So the city now will be partnering with school district community education to offer some environmental programming at the Nature Center this summer. We're working with naturalists that used to actually work at the Nature Center, two of them, and so they'll be putting on some programming for us, which is an exciting turn, to have that programming back. It is, a little bit more minimal, but certainly a step in the right direction. And then, so what does that all mean for the Environmental and Natural Resources Commission? I think really for this year, it would be to help implement the Nature Center Task Force recommendations would really be to help and support upcoming programs and volunteer opportunities that are at the Nature Center this year would be a great help. So I'll just pause on the Nature Center Task Force recommendations to see if you have any comments or questions.
My comment would be, sounds great. I'm excited that stuff is starting back up there, that ball, so to speak, wasn't just kind of left hanging. So good to see that plan and affirm our support for it.
So, what types is community ed going to be restarting a lot of the existing nature programming that was there, or are they going to be running their own programs that they've developed?
We're working with, I should have listed those programs, I apologize. There are two naturalists that worked with the City of Maplewood at the Nature Center. And I think the programs that they're rolling out might be something that they offered at the Nature Center at one time or another. Some pollinator programs. And I will have to get that information for you, but I think there's about 6 that will be offered this summer.
And will they be charging for those programs, or are they going to be free programming?
Good question. And again, I don't have the answer, except it's likely that there'll be some sort of charge.
Because that was recommendations, part of the task force was that they needed to start charging for programs.
And this really is a partnership where basically the City of Maplewood is allowing community education to use the facility for free. And so we aren't doing any of the registration or any, it doesn't really cost us anything to hold the programs there per se.
So then are the naturalists doing this paid through community education, or are they volunteer?
Paid through community ed. Yes, I do know that. I'll have to get you more details on that, and that's a very good question. Thanks for bringing that up.
Are these paid staff positions? I'm just curious more than anything on how they were able to get that programming staffing covered again.
I think it was really, there's a couple of staff that have been tasked, well, all of us really, at coming up with ways to create partnerships. Mm-hmm. And this was a clearly identified partnership because, we're doing many of the same things. So why not open our facilities for their use? And then these previous naturalists were quite receptive to helping us out and working with community ed to offer the program to them.
Commissioner Miller, I think you had your hand up.
Yep, thank you. Can you hear me okay? I think my internet's kind of jumping around because some of the things are kind of cutting out. I just have a question. Are you still looking for possible partnerships? Because I had a group approach me with some interest.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, we're looking at all avenues to open up the building to more programming.
Yeah, okay. How would I get that information to you, or Let me tell
Give me
you.
a call or email.
Okay,
Yeah,
sounds good.
thank you.
No, it seems like it might be a really beneficial for both parties, kind of a partnership. So kind of cool.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for those comments and your feedback. I was frozen a minute there. Okay. Community garden and urban agriculture. And in your staff report, I kind of outlined some opportunities to work on this. So the city did submit a Minnesota Department of Agriculture urban agriculture grant for our Edgerton Community Garden. And those would be awarded in March. So we'll hear on that soon. But if we are able to get that funding, that would include an urban agriculture learning opportunity for children at Edgerton Elementary School, which is right next door, and other youth programs. And then it would also help fund garden infrastructure that the city was unable to do when the previous improvements were approved a couple years ago in the CIP. But soil remediation, permanent fencing around the garden perimeter, additional raised beds, information kiosk, a shed, a children's orchard, and more. So if we get that grant, that's something that we'll do the planning in the summer, and then maybe some of the implementation in the fall, and then really roll it out next year. And then the Harvest Park Native Seed Garden. So that is a partnership with Urban Roots. It's a 1.5 acre parcel garden at Harvest Park that is used to gather seeds. So Urban Roots over the years has been planting native plants there, a mix of native forbs and grasses, and is designed to facilitate the harvesting of seed from the plants to use in future restoration projects. And part of that memorandum of understanding with Urban Roots is that they'll open that up to some programming with the city of Maplewood. And we are offering 3 programs out there this year: pollinator planting, plant identification, bird watching, and seed harvesting. So those will be some fun events. And it'd be great to have the Environmental Commission assist with those in some way. So I'll pause for comments on implementation strategies for community garden and urban agriculture.
I have a quick question. Are we going to consider the University of Minnesota Horticulture Society with all those seeds for the gardens available, a partnership for this? The garden in a box stuff? Because she said she would supply as many people as many gardens as they needed with food seeds.
So I apologize. U of M and their Garden in a Box program,
Yeah.
They have offered to supply people with seed.
Yep. Courtney that runs that program, she said that she would, anybody in the in our community gardens would be available to get seeds from her.
Okay, in the community garden.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'm going to touch base with you. I'm now coordinating the Edgerton Community Garden, which is coordinated by the city of Maplewood, and
Exciting.
I should have identified that, but for your information, I'll add that to our staff presentations. But registration for that community garden plot will begin March 2nd for existing gardeners, and then March 16th for new gardeners. So I'll be able to let those gardeners know about the free seed opportunity. So thank you.
I just pulled up the website for the Horticulture Society. It looks like March 20th or March 18th is the deadline to submit an application for the garden.
That would, yeah, that's the garden in a box stuff.
Okay.
She
But not the
actually
seed?
offered us, yeah, she
Okay.
offered it to the city, kind of outside of that.
Okay.
Also, oh shoot, I'm gonna lose my train of thought. Sorry. I was really excited about saying something and I totally interrupted myself and you. Sorry.
Something to do with garden in the box? Well, those type of opportunities, the city can always, we can tap into our communication avenues to put out information to our residents to let them know about those opportunities. And unfortunately, we missed the deadline for the March, maybe not, maybe so, Maplewood Living, but we can also do social media to push that information out. Do you think that's a good idea, Commissioner Miller, to advertise that garden in a box?
I know that she would really love that. And I remembered what I was going to say. That if we go through the garden in a box part of her program instead of just through her, it also comes with curriculum. It comes with activities. It comes with free gardening webinars and stuff like that. Like it comes with and it actually comes with a subscription to Northern Gardener. It's kind of cool. Like it's all through them and it's free. So yeah, I'd be happy to reconnect with you and Courtney about that, because that would be something for especially the Edgerton garden because it's with the school right there.
Is that program mainly for a school or
it can be?
organization?
It can be. It is geared towards food deserts, and it can be a family can apply for it, and it's like a one-page application, and it's not very invasive with what they're asking, and it can be 1 3-foot in diameter round garden up to 10 for anybody, and that can be just like somebody's house with their kids or a school, because there's 10 at Edgerton as well. So
Okay.
yeah, I mean, anybody can apply. It's not special. It's just anybody can apply. It's kind of cool.
Very good. Thanks for that reminder.
Yeah.
So, let's see. I'll show. So I will stop sharing. And I think we have identified our work plan and our environmental priorities, unless you have any additional comments.
Maybe a comment that I would have. I know that there's a lot of things that we talked about that ask for our support, but maybe it's not entirely clear what actions we should be taking. Like it's, we at each meeting promote some of the programs that are happening and provide a platform for that reminder, but not necessarily. There's a couple things I can think of that we talked about that would require, some presence at an event or volunteering our time. I just want to make sure I'm not missing something there as far as kind of what we would be doing to support those. The climate adaptation plan had some things where we would work as a commission through some things and kind of maybe analyze some of the results and outcomes as they come along, and certainly working on some of the ordinance and trash and recycling review. Like those are things that will happen at our meetings. But I don't know that we've got like a subcommittee or anything needed for any of those things. I just want to make sure I wasn't missing something within the presentation there.
No, you are not missing anything. And I agree. What does show your support mean? But I think if you read between the lines, it really is showing up to help volunteer for those events.
Okay.
And the ones that would we would come back to the Environmental Commission would be the climate financial mechanisms, that one for sure. And we can discuss the possibility of a task force, but I think we kind of had a slower year where we're not looking at a detailed ordinance or anything, that I think it's something that we can handle as a full commission.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And then we did briefly talk at our last meeting about volunteer opportunities as well. So some of these specific examples of things that are coming up, maybe coming up with a calendar, that we're circulating, or kind of putting reminders out to our commission frequently, so that we get those all on our calendars to attend as much as possible.
Yes, I will create that calendar for your review.
Sorry to put more work on your plate, but yeah, then the work would be, we could all commit to those events as they're scheduled.
No, and our new department is tasked with doing special events. Also, of course, the park department always did that, but since COVID, we really haven't for a while. So we also have some other special events that aren't wholly environmental based, but there might be opportunity for environmental booth or something. So we're just kind of planning all that. So I think this additional month to make sure I'm getting all the dates right and bringing it to you in March is timely. So I'll do that in March. Thank you. Does that answer your question? So basically it's the climate planning and the financial mechanisms, and then a lot of education and outreach throughout the year.
Sounds good.
All right, are we done with unfinished business? Any other comments? If not, we'll move to the next agenda item, new business. So I'll hand it back over to Sean for the 2021 Environmental and Natural Resources Commission Annual Report.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the Commission. So the Environmental and Natural Resources Commission ordinance does outline that the Commission will make recommendation to the Community Design Review Board, one of our commissions and boards, Planning Commission, and the City Council on changes necessary to existing policies, operating procedures, and ordinances that control, protect, preserve, and enhance the city's environmental assets. So to ensure that we're giving detailed information to our City Council on our environmental priorities and these types of recommendations, annually the Environmental Commission puts together a report, and then it's presented to the council for their approval. In the years past, when my position was in the Community Development Department, their annual report kind of really expanded into reporting on much of the department work, like development. And so I was tasked with putting together some detail on like our solid waste program and our Green Step Cities program. And so I would bring that information to you, but the Parks and Recreation, now Park and Natural Resources, is more along the lines that we used to do, which is reporting on what the Environmental Commission has done over the year. So what I have before you is kind of going back to our old ways and just identifying things that the Environmental and Natural Resources Commission has been focusing on. And then I still would like to include, because it is part of our Green Step Cities best practices, is to report on all of our sustainability metrics. And then, of course, after we hear from our trash and recycling haulers, kind of summarize that into a solid waste report. So we'll have those two sections as well, but it won't necessarily be coming from the Environmental Commission. And I guess what I'm saying is I can wrap up those two sections too for your review next month. So anyway, we have our annual report in front of you here. It goes into our priorities and accomplishments for 2021, how the Commission has completed and assisted with the climate adaptation plan. We worked on the Mississippi River corridor critical area and slope ordinance, which was a huge undertaking last year. And we also finalized our renewable energy ordinance updates. And then it talks about our 2022 environmental priorities that we just went over. So please review that and let me know if you have any modifications. I can bring a final report to you next month, along with that the Green Step Cities and solid waste details. So that is my presentation. Would love to hear from you on the report itself. See if you have any comments, questions.
No, I don't. It looks good. There are no questions. Are we ready to move on? Okay.
Wait, I guess maybe one quick question. So I know typically we do have a commissioner attend the city council meeting. So it sounds like you're going to pull some more items together. We'll review it at our March meeting, and then it'll be after that. Or do you need a city council volunteer at this time, Sean?
I understand, since I'm in this new department, Park and Natural Resources, that the Park Commission will actually review their report in March. So it probably won't go to the council until April. So we can discuss, but we have in the past asked our chair, if possible, to attend the city council meeting and just give a short update on the Environmental Commission and your accomplishments and goals. And we can talk about that next month. Because I saw your face, Commissioner Roser. It's at the beginning of the meeting. It's real quick, and they love to have you hear from you, especially new commissioners.
Yeah, I can do it unless someone else really wanted to attend.
I think you'll do great. It is. It sounds intimidating, but it's not. I guess I'm not sure if they'll be meeting in person by that time or if they're still meeting via Zoom. But my experience has been they'll tell you about what time to join. I mean, you can always join the whole meeting, and take it in. But they'll tell you what time to pop on, and they'll have the written information, and you have a chance to answer questions or share additional info if you want to.
Okay.
Yes, and I can put together some talking points, just bullet points.
Yeah, that'd be very helpful.
All right. Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Get over here. Come here.
Okay, moving on. We don't have any visitor presentations or commissioner presentations. So that brings us to agenda item number 9, staff presentations. So back to Sean.
I was just going to check to make sure we don't have anyone. No. All the visitors in the room. No. Okay, you're correct. Back to Sean. staff presentations. Let's see here. I just want to share my screen and show you some fun things that are coming up. It keeps kind of freezing on me here, sorry. There we go. All right, I'm on to the Winter Gnome Challenge. Is that what you see in front of you?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So I wanted to let you know about a couple programs that are coming up. So here's one of those partnerships that we were talking about. Friends of Maplewood Nature, they created this fun little event that is held at the Maplewood Nature Center Preserve Trails. So from February 12th until February 27th, they have hidden, I think, about 42, maybe less. I guess I'm not quite sure. No, that sounds like a lot. Well, there's a lot out there. So there's a lot of little gnomes, and volunteers, board members of Friends of Maplewood Nature created this with their children, and then they went out and put them in various areas on the Nature Center trails. And so what this challenge is really to get people out and enjoying the Nature Center trail and the environment and this beautiful snowy weather we have. So I'm sure they're all buried right now, but they'll go out and readjust them so you can find them again. But you just walk around, and it's great for kids. You look for the gnomes and take a picture of the gnomes or a picture of you with the gnomes, which would even be more fun. And they're offering prizes at the end of the event. So you would send your picture to maplewoodnature@gmail.com, or you can add them, on your post. Friends of Maplewood Nature.wordpress.com is their website for more information. And some of those prizes are some free snowshoeing at the Nature Center, entrance to the new Snake Discovery Center, which is just down the road from the Maplewood Nature Center, Dairy Queen treats, couple other things I can't remember, but check it out at friendsofmaplewoodnature.wordpress.com. The second item I wanted to let you know about is our annual tree sale. So we work with Tree Trust on this sale, and the city of Maplewood partners with them, and we offer the trees at $40 a tree. Normally those trees are about $140. We offer a variety of species, and a household in Maplewood can order up to 2 trees. That ordering starts online March 7th and ends May 4th, or until they're sold out. And then you pick up the tree May 21st to May 23rd. And of course, this tree sale helps us generate tree planting on private property and help us replace all those ash trees that we are removing, and our help with our tree canopy and our climate adaptation, really. So check out the details at www.maplewoodmn.gov/tree sale. So we will be holding an Arbor Day event this year at the Maplewood Nature Center, and that will be Saturday, May 14th from 10 a.m. to noon. And I'll include this in your calendar of events. But one of the big items that we'll kind of be focusing on is the Friends of Maplewood Nature have been working on this tree trek. And here's where I got that number 42. I know they have 42 identifiers that they'll put out at the Nature Center for each type of tree species. And it will have a QR code, and you go on there and it brings you to information from the University of Minnesota on that tree species, so you can learn about it. And so we'll roll that out in May. And then there'll be other opportunities for different stations. We have an idea, and this will be fun, to offer bucket rides in a truck, but we're not sure of the liability issue there. But that would be a big draw. And then, having that station on the climate resilient trees, of course, having some kids activities. So look for more information on that. And then the annual spring cleanup, which is where residents can bring bulky items that normally, you can't dispose of or recycle in the curbside program. And this year it's a little later. I had it planned for April 16th, right around Earth Day, but then realized Easter was the day after. Easter's that kind of floating holiday, so it kind of messed up my schedule. But so May 21st was the only date that they had available. But this is good because there has been 1 or 2 spring cleanups where we've still had some snow on the ground there in April. So I think this might be better. So that is all I have for our staff presentations, except for I did want to mention the Edgerton Community Garden. So right now we're looking at registration for existing gardeners starting March 2nd, and for new gardeners beginning March 16th. And that plot is $25 for the entire season. And the city of Maplewood, offers up the water, which is right there, and now maybe some free seed from U of M. So it's a great program if you're interested in gardening at the Edgerton Community Garden. Go online. I don't have the website in front of me, but just go on the City of Maplewood's website and type in community garden, and those details will come up. So thank you very much.
Thank you. It sounds like a lot of stuff going on. The gnomes kind of make me giggle a little bit. So I'll have to get over and see if I can find some. Okay. So I think that's it for the agenda. Any last comments before we adjourn? No? All right. So is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right. Motion passes to adjourn. So we will adjourn the meeting of the Environmental and Natural Resources Commission at 7:53 p.m.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Thank